Welcome to Huge Sports Network. Today is Huge Sports Talk Day, and today is quite an interesting day. We had a couple of events happen in the course of a week, so let's get on with what's happened, starting with soccer. As you can see this week, we will cover the August 28th to September 3rd. August 23rd to September 4th. No, not 23rd. It's August. Is it really the 5th? Yeah, it is. August 29th to September 4th. And let's start. So, this Sunday, we had Austin lose to Dallas beat Austin in their game. Vancouver beat Salt Lake City, and Seattle beat Portland. As Vancouver really destroyed Salt Lake. This game is actually this game right here is actually a multi-conference game. There's two conferences in this game. Vancouver's from East and Salt Lake's from the West. Eastern and Western Conference games rarely ever play each other. Let's go over Friday. Nashville beat New York City Football Conference. Football Club. Philadelphia Union lost to New England Revolution. Houston Dynamo lost to the Portland Timbers. Los Angeles Football Club won against the Sporting Kansas City. All on Friday. And then on Saturday, Vancouver beat Austin. Orlando beat Columbus, which are the previous MLS champions. The Miami has beaten Cincinnati. Salt Lake beat Dallas, and Colorado beat San Jose. Then for Friday, and then games coming up this week, which will be 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, which I'll go over September 5th through September 5th through September 11th. And here are your current games. Atlanta versus Orlando. The Atlanta versus Orlando and Vancouver versus Portland. On September 10th, which is it's this coming Friday, and then this coming Saturday. I don't know. I don't think we have games then. Yeah, there's no games here. Latest news, David Beckham's son Romero joins Fort Lauderdale CF. So it's the son of the intern Miami CF co-owner David Beckham has signed with Fort Lauderdale CF, the sister club of Miami. Here's the tables on what the division standings look like. Remember, top 7 qualifies for the MLS Cups. So you got New England in first, Orlando in second, Nashville in third, New York City in fourth, Philadelphia in fifth, Montreal in sixth, and DC in seventh. As Those are all would be playoff spots. If the season were to end today, the New England would get a first round bye. Orlando will take on DC. Nashville will take on Montreal. New York City would then take on Philadelphia. And for Columbus, Atlanta, Miami, Chicago, New York, Cincinnati, and Toronto, they're not in playoff position. So they'll probably miss the playoffs if they keep that up. And in the Western Conference, you have Seattle in first, Colorado in second, Kansas City in third, Los Angeles in fourth, Minnesota in fifth, Portland in sixth, Salt Lake in seventh. And if the season were to end today, the Seattle will have a first round bye. Colorado will take on Portland. Sporting Kansas City would take on. Wait, I'm doing it wrong, am I? Okay, my apologies. Seattle has a first round bye. Colorado would take on Salt Lake. Kansas City would take on Portland, and Los Angeles would take on Minnesota. And for 8th place, Vancouver. 9th place, Los Angeles FC. 10th place, San Jose. 11th place, Dallas. 12th place, Austin. And 13th place, Houston. They have a lot of work to do if they want to make the playoffs at all. Otherwise, they'll be missing the playoffs as well. So, yeah, the bubble is really up to 2 teams. In the Western Conference, it's Salt Lake, as Vancouver's knocking on the door. And in the Eastern Conference, it's Columbus who's knocking on the door on DC. Now, they sort this by points, and to be honest, Columbus only needs a win and DC to lose in order to take their spot. And for the Western Conference, Vancouver only needs a tie to match up with their points. As this league gets kind of crazy. Let me just load that up. As NCAA soccer, I believe there are a couple of matches today. There is a match today for NCAA soccer. It is LMU versus UCI. I haven't heard of them too. Probably because they're not in my conference. Well, no, because the whole conference isn't that famous. And then you got, of course, the rankings. Clemson actually is in the top 4 in here. Clemson's a good university when it comes to sports, despite their loss to Georgia last night. But again, we'll talk about all that later. As since it's fall, the soccer season will begin for NCAA, as well as regular high schools as well. Now for MLS, we begin mid-year. And surprisingly, to be surprised, Maryland is in the top 20. Maryland is finally in the top 25, which I'm happy about that. But college soccer isn't really as famous as regular soccer is. So, to be honest, I just want our football team to do better. But hey, we won against West Virginia last night, and the odds were against our favor. So I'm happy about that. But again, we'll talk more about that later. All right, 10 minutes is up. Next sport, hockey. Now, I believe hockey is a winter sport. I consider it a winter sport. And the one best way to go over is the NHL. Now, the opening hockey game is only weeks away, as the Canadiens and the Maple Leafs will be starting us off for this year's NHL opener. As it's going to be the Montreal Canadiens versus the Toronto Maple Leafs. That's going to start us off. There's also going to be another game, which again is the Minnesota Wild at the St. Louis Blues. So yeah, biggest news story here. Everything you need to know about NHL players headed back to the Olympics. Here's what I think. Here's what I know. What I know is I think there's going to be a 2-week break for this year's Winter Olympics for the NHL. So there will be less hockey for about 2 weeks. Basketball, you don't have to worry about that, as they had their Olympics during the Summer Olympics, I believe. Even though basketball is classified as a winter sport under the NCAA and high school standards around here. Meaning that, again, that's when the NCAA would start their tournaments and all that. Basketball is the second biggest NCAA event every year. And then baseball would be third, which would begin in the spring. And then, of course, there's some other sports in there as well. But for hockey, I believe NCAA does have hockey, but not all of the schools has hockey. My Maryland does not. Sadly, Maryland University doesn't have hockey. They don't have baseball either.
We have baseball.
I'm talking about Maryland University, not the Orioles. She thinks that every time I say that, too.
No, I was thinking Bennett baseball.
I'm not talking about my high school. I'm talking about Maryland University. So yeah, the divisions are different. They are subject to change because the Arizona Coyotes are expected to relocate. They're most likely going to relocate to another city in Arizona, so the divisions could stay the same, but if they relocate somewhere else, the divisions could change. Even though the Coyotes just switched divisions. As in the Eastern Conference, we have the Florida Panthers, Boston Bruins, Toronto Maple Leafs, Tampa Bay Rays, not the Tampa Bay Rays, Tampa Bay Lightning, Ottawa Senators, Montreal Canadiens, Detroit Red Wings, and the Buffalo Sabres, which were the worst of last season. In the Metropolitan or Tilton Division, whatever the frick it says, we have the Columbus Blue Jackets, Carolina Hurricanes, Washington Capitals, Pittsburgh Penguins, Philadelphia Flyers, New York Rangers, New York Islanders, and the New Jersey Devils, all in that division. And in the West, we have the Minnesota Wild, Chicago Blackhawks, the Winnipeg Jets, which we will also talk about Winnipeg sports later today, once we get to our new unit, which is the Access Sports unit. The Nashville Predators, Arizona Coyotes, St. Louis Blues, the Colorado Avalanche, and the Dallas Stars. And for the Pacific Division, we have the new Seattle Kraken, who just joined the league this season, which is the reason the Arizona Coyotes moved to the Central Division. The Calgary Flames, Las Vegas Golden Knights, Anaheim Ducks, Vancouver Canucks, San Jose Sharks, Los Angeles Kings, and the Edmonton Oilers. So yeah, it's a pretty big league. This is the second league to reach 32 teams. As you got free agencies going on. And yeah, let's go to NCAA. Let's go to NCAA. As NCAA hockey, again, we don't have a team. They haven't released much on this page for some reason on ESPN, even though they're supposed to be the sports network. But all we know is that UMass is the champion. Now, because the NHL is based off of both the United States and Canada, there are some colleges that are from Canada. Which, to be honest with you, I think we should have Canadian colleges compete with American colleges in every sport. Not just hockey. The whole reason we all are international when it comes to where teams are in hockey is because hockey originated in Canada, but then it also had teams form in the United States as well. As originally there was only 4 teams, all of them working from Canada. And only one of those 4 teams still exists today, which is the Montreal Canadiens. Which, to be honest with you, St. Cloud State literally looks like the Montreal Canadiens logo. But that's okay, because there's another college that copies the Packers logo completely with the same letter, just with different colors. So yeah, they didn't really go by much. And of course you got the colleges for hockey, with again UMass being number 1 with a record of 20 wins, 5 losses, and 4 overtime losses. Back then they used to have back then hockey used to have 4 numbers. 1 for wins, 1 for losses, 1 for overtime losses, and 1 for ties, as they used to have ties. It was a very confusing record number. And it still is confusing today, because there's 3 digits still. Now, some of these colleges I haven't heard of, like Quinnipiac. Sounds like a Canadian name. So it's probably, it might be in Canada, I don't know. But stuff like Boston University, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Minnesota are all from the United States. Do I see anyone from the Big Ten in here? I don't know. Because that's our conference in hockey. I think our whole conference would have to be added in order for us to compete in a sport. I think that's might be how that should have to work. Because I don't see no Ohio State in that either. But again, this is not basketball. This is not football. They could be in there. They're just not featured in the top 25. This 10-minute period's about to end too. Alright, the next 10-minute period has just ended. We're now going to the third unit, which is going to be basketball, which is also starting up soon. Let's start with the Summer League, because that's what everyone's all about.
Wait, are you still doing live streams on Sunday?
Yes, I'm still doing live streams on Sunday. Okay, let me reconfigure. I just restarted the stream to make sure the audio works. So, here is the NBA Summer G League. And it looks like the Los Angeles Kings are the Summer League champions, which I never thought would happen. But again, there's only 4 games. Not much happens in 4 games. So let's look at the regular basketball league now. NBA, National Basketball Association. Here are your first couple of games. NBA starts next month compared to the NHL, so they start about a month later than the NHL does. And this year, the Brooklyn Nets and the 2020-2021 champions, the Milwaukee Bucks, will start us off this year in the NBA season opener. As that would probably be a good game to watch if you guys are fans of those teams, as both teams are pretty strong. Even though the Nets lost in the first or second round, whatever round I think it was the second round. I don't remember. I'm not entirely sure. Then there's also the San Francisco Warriors. Really, they're called the Golden State Warriors, but they're based off of San Francisco. So, San Francisco Warriors at the Los Angeles Lakers. You know what should happen? One of the basketball teams in LA should move to Anaheim since they like it so much and call themselves Anaheim. Because there's a baseball team that does do that. It's called the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, they should just change their name to. I just call them the Anaheim Angels because it makes more sense. All right, let's check the news. Here's the news. Point Zion is on the most dominant version. Now, here's the thing. Silvers did say that the NBA, that he is looking forward to expanding the NBA, adding teams to different servers. I mean, different cities. As Seattle's expected to get their team back, he also announced that Las Vegas might get a team. I don't know. He even announced that Baltimore might get a team as well, which is surprising. Because usually in every league, there's both Baltimore and Pittsburgh. If this does happen, Baltimore may become this league may become the only league where Pittsburgh is not competing with Baltimore. Because Pittsburgh still doesn't have a team. But Pittsburgh could be a runner-up. I don't know. Who knows what could happen. Anything's possible. Divisions, they're the same as usual. It shows the standings from last season still, and they haven't cleared it yet, which they probably should because the NBA season's only a month away. As you got, let's go over 6 teams to watch out for. The 6 teams to watch out, also known as the Big Six, which is the first place of every division: the Philadelphia 76ers, the Milwaukee Bucks, Atlanta Hawks, Utah Jazz, the Phoenix Suns, and the Dallas Mavericks. You got to watch out for these 6, as they are brutal. And the 6 teams you have to worry the least about is the Toronto Raptors, Detroit Pistons, Orlando Magic, Oklahoma City Thunder, Sacramento Kings, and the Houston Rockets. But again, their off-season decisions determines how strong their team is. If they did correct, they could be a lot stronger and could even make the playoffs if one of the bottom 6 get lucky. As for NCAA basketball, they still have not cleared it, and they still have not released the next year's schedule for the basketball. So we are stuck going over other things. As they have recruited their players for the team, so that decision's already done. And then you have, of course, the bracket from last year, as there are a lot of teams that compete in this tournament compared to the NCAA football finale. In this, you get 64 teams, which is a lot better than only 4. As they divided into four sections: the West, the East, the South, and the Midwest. And as you can see, there are a lot of teams in this. And Alabama did not win for once, so thank gosh for that. They win too much. They win every season football. And I'm pretty sure everyone's tired of it by now. Well, at least everyone who's not an Alabama fan. I'm not an Alabama fan, so I kind of am tired of it. Good thing they're not in our conference. Otherwise, we'd be screwed, right? Well, we're already screwed because Ohio is in our division, is in our conference.
No, I'm just kidding. Wait, are you talking about college?
Yes, I'm talking about NCAA basketball. But the thing is, Ohio lost in, I believe, what was it, the first round in this tournament? Yeah, they did. Ohio State did lose against Oral Roberts in the first round of the entire playoff tournament. So maybe there's hope that they may not be as good. But for the rest of the Big Ten, we still got Illinois, who is freaking dominant in this freaking league.
Do they even know I'm a Buckeyes fan?
I don't know. You got Rutgers, who's only in 10th. You got, who else is in our conference? Not Oklahoma State. Purdue, and hopefully Purdue isn't as dominant as it was last season. Wisconsin, maybe. Us, we are not that good at all. We lost to Alabama, literally, which did not make me happy. And I wasn't happy that we were one of the unluckiest teams in the world because we had to play them. And that's the end of the 10-minute period. We're moving on to baseball. Now, baseball season is almost over, which means the playoffs is about to begin. As for, let's check the standings to see what I mean. So, let's start with the American League East. So, the American League East, the Baltimore Orioles is the only team that's eliminated out of that division. Everyone else still has a chance. Toronto's chances are dying because they only have an 11% chance of making the playoffs. But while Boston, New York have a high chance of making the playoffs, and Tampa Bay already clinched the playoffs, so guess you'll be seeing the Rays again in the playoffs this year. Now, for the Central Division, the Cleveland Indians have finally been eliminated, as that 0.1% chance that they had for a couple of weeks is dead. It is 0%, which means the Chicago White Sox have clinched the division as well. They've done that a couple of weeks ago. And now there's nothing the division could do. There's only one team in this division that's going to go to the playoffs, which is the minimum, because there's got to be one per division. And for the West, the only two teams in this division that are eliminated is the Anaheim Angels and the Texas Rangers. Everyone else is still in it. The Seattle Mariners and actually passed the Oakland Athletics, as they're no longer in third. Now Seattle's in second. But both Seattle and Oakland have a long shot if they want to try to make the playoffs, as they only have a 4 or 8% chance to get there. While the Houston Astros are looking good. They have a 97% chance, as long as they're not cheating like they've done in the past couple of seasons with the trash cans thing and the patches, which is the whole reason why everyone chants that they are cheaters, because they literally did cheat, and they lost their and Houston, I think, was fined and lost a couple of their draft picks. And now for the National League, we have the National League East. We have the Miami Marlins and the Washington Nationals both eliminated, while the spot in the playoffs is still available. And the first place spot is still a strong contention too, as the Atlanta Braves, Philadelphia Phillies, and the New York Mets are all trying to make the playoffs here, even though the Mets' chances are dying. Philadelphia might have a slight chance, but then again, look at the records. They're not that far. All Philadelphia needs to do is get 2 wins and hope Atlanta doesn't win, and they're tied. They're only as Philly is only 2 games behind, while New York is 3.5 games behind. Now, for the Central Division, we have the Milwaukee Brewers clinching the entire playoffs, meaning you'll see them in the playoffs. And for the Chicago Cubs and the Pittsburgh Pirates, you both are eliminated and will have to try again next season. Now, Cincinnati still has a great chance of making the playoffs too, as they have a 57% chance they'll make it in, while the St. Louis Cardinals, not so much, as they only have a 6.2% chance of making it, as they have not done too well, but at least they're not the worst. AKA the Orioles. What the frick are we doing? Alright, and moving on to the Western Division. There are actually 2 teams in this division that have clinched the playoffs: the Los Angeles Dodgers and the San Francisco Giants. These 2 teams will become rivals for years because of both of their greatnesses and both of them competing against each other. As both San Francisco and Los Angeles did recently win a World Series, and one of these teams could win the World Series again, but there's also other teams in the league as well. As all the teams that have clinched so far, except the Brewers, have recently won a World Series. Yeah, Tampa Bay too. Well, actually, except the Chicago White Sox as well. Now, for the San Diego Padres, there's a chance that they might make it, but for the Rockies and the Diamondbacks, there's no chance they're going to make it. They have already eliminated. And for our upcoming news, There is a game. There is a LA San Francisco game and the winner of this game determines who leads the division for now. As we are currently in the last month of the regular season, so expect there to be some fun. Now, today's games, we have the Orioles versus the Yankees, Mets versus the Nationals, Athletics versus Blue Jays, Indians versus the Red Sox, Tigers versus the Reds, and the Twins versus the Rays. Well, there's probably more too, but I don't know. And now for NCAA baseball. Let me look that up. As NCAA baseball, Mississippi State literally blew out Vanderbilt and are the winners of this year. Now, in the rankings, again, Mississippi State is number 1. And despite Vanderbilt being number 2, they still were completely destroyed against the Mississippi State. You might as well make the Mississippi State an official Major League Baseball team, because that kind of performance might put you in there. I didn't know Maryland had a team. I thought they didn't have a team. Since when did they have a baseball team? I don't know. But apparently we're good at hockey. No, not hockey. Apparently we're good at baseball and soccer, but we're not good at basketball or football. Well, even though did watch last night's game for NCAA, so hope is still alive, because we did beat West Virginia against the odds. And the next game is supposed to be a freebie according to ESPN, which I will show you later, as their ratings are freaking crazy. As I've never seen our chances get higher than that before to win a football game in NCAA. Now, there were a couple of games where Vanderbilt scored points, but every time, for the past 2 games, they've been blown out. As several teams tried to compete, only one will make it. Now, also on the news, our team almost won the National Lacrosse NCAA tournament, but we lost to Virginia by 1. Yeah, Maryland was about to become the champions at something, until Virginia fricked it up for us by 1. So yeah, we're pretty good at a lot of sports. Just not basketball or football. But we'll see our time come, eventually. Alright, end of the 10-minute period for baseball. As we went over soccer, hockey, and basketball and baseball, now it's time to go over football. Now for football, I'm pretty sure y'all know what's going to happen soon. Week 1 of the NFL is going to start soon. I thought we had a game on Monday. Where did that go? It is. Oh, it's next Monday. I thought it was this Monday. What the frick? Guess not. But here is the football schedule for the opening regular season, as the Cowboys and the Buccaneers are going to start us off this year. And let me guess, the Buccaneers are going to win. I'm just going to automatically assume that, because based on what I've seen in the Cowboys-Steelers Hall of Fame game, I don't think Cowboys have a chance right now. Now, there is a big game. The Steelers and the Bills. This game is probably going to be really big for both teams. Based on my predictions, I think the Bills might win. Because, well, if you've seen them play in the playoffs last year against the Cleveland Browns, the very first play the Pittsburgh Steelers did was throw the ball backwards. The quarterback fails to pick up the ball after the snap, so it goes backwards. So that actually counts as a fumble, and Cleveland runs and grabs the ball, and it counts as a touchdown for Cleveland. What was that? That just brings me funniness. Vikings, Bengals. I don't know who's going to win. I think it's the Vikes. 49ers, Lions. I think the Niners will win. Oh, I forgot about this game. I don't know who's going to win that game. The Cardinals and the Titans. I think Titans will take that game. Seattle and the Colts. Maybe Seattle. But Colts if there's a miracle. Chargers and Washington football team. I believe that Chargers might win it. Because they are like one of the middle class teams. Washington's a lower class team because they freaking their whole division was terrible last year. The Jets and the Panthers. I think actually that might be a good game because now the Jets have Trevor Lawrence. Psych. The Jags have Trevor Lawrence he was stolen from the Jets. But the Jets still have a new quarterback. Jaguars, Texans. Jags will probably win it unless if the Texans got their act together from 2 years ago. As Bill O'Brien literally was fired within the first 4 weeks of the last year regular season as they lost 4 consecutive games in a row against easy teams. And the Texans fell after that. Browns, Chiefs, big game for them too. As Baker Mayfield's going to take on Patrick Mahomes, even though Patrick Mahomes' Super Bowl performance was terrible. He's like, let's score 0 touchdown and only do field goal kicks. Buccaneers be like, let's score 1,000,000 touchdowns and freaking win them and give Tom Brady his 7th freaking ring. He has enough rings, right? When does he get enough rings? Question that nobody will answer because nobody freaking knows how many seasons he's going to play. He's like in his 40s still. Dolphins, Patriots. I don't know if Big Mac is so good for the Patriots, but we'll see what happens if he becomes Little Mac in that game. Who knows? But the Dolphins are also pretty good too, as they almost made the playoffs, but were eliminated despite 10 wins. Packers, Saints. Packers almost lost their quarterback. But I think that he's still on the team, right? But the Saints don't have Drew Brees anymore. So this rivalship is dead. Broncos, Giants. I think I don't know who will win that game. Chicago Bears, Rams. This will be a good game because I heard a lot of rumors that the Rams were going to make it to the Super Bowl. And I also watched Justin Fields' game a couple weeks ago, and he was pretty good. So it's a good thing the Chicago Bears have Justin Fields. And that's it for week 1. Oh, wait. There's one more game. Baltimore Ravens, Las Vegas Raiders. Now, my prediction is the Baltimore Ravens. I'm not going to say this because I'm a Ravens fan, but I'm saying this because for a fact that the Raiders were only 8-8. Well, maybe it might be a close game. It could be. because because Lamar Jackson has a tendency of throwing interceptions that lead to pick sixes, like the Bills game. Oh my gosh, what was that? News, biggest thing on the news, mega NFL projections, ranking every blah, blah, blah. Who cares about that? Here's the preseason standings, as the Buffalo Bills won the East in the preseason. The Browns have won the AFC North preseason. The Indianapolis Colts won the South in the preseason. The Kansas City Chiefs won the West of the AFC. And for the NFC, the East, the Washington football team won that division for the preseason. The Bears won the North division. Surprisingly, the Packers are dead last in their division. Despite without Drew Brees, the Saints still are number one in their conference. Their division after the preseason. And finally, the West. Yeah, what it looks like to me is the San Francisco 49ers are back and ready to destroy the NFC yet again. Maybe except the Bucs. We'll see what happens. And now one more thing to talk about for football before we move on to Access Football. We go to more sports. Oh wait, not here. When we go to NCAA football, let's recap week 1 so far. For first, the top 25. So later today, Notre Dame is supposed to be playing Florida State. Let's go over the double-ranked games first, as they're more important. Penn State, Wisconsin. The Pennsylvania Nittany Lions have won the game. Yes, that's their team name. It's stupid, isn't it? But the Nittany Lions did win. Oh, something just changed. Where did it go? How is it the third quarter? Question. If this game started yesterday, how is it the third quarter right now? Let me refresh to make sure that's correct. It says it's final. It's probably a glitch in the system. Where did Penn State's game go? I was just going over that. There it is. As Penn State did beat Wisconsin with a surprising loss for Wisconsin. What was Wisconsin's team name? Somewhere. It is the Wisconsin Badgers. So the Badgers did lose to the Nittany Lions, surprisingly. Next game that we go over, back out of this, is the Alabama Crimson Tide versus Miami. And as expected, they always win, as that's the number one rule in NCAA football. Alabama always wins. They never lose. It just never happens. And it rarely ever happens. Some of these teams go 16-0 in this league because of how good their college is. That's a good question. The Miami Hurricanes. So to the Crimson Tide. You know, the Hurricanes kind of sounds like the NHL because there is a team based off of that. Indiana lost to Iowa, which means Iowa is expected to rise in the top 25. And as of Louisiana versus Texas, Texas beat Louisiana by big time. And then the most surprising thing out of everything this week, Clemson loses to Georgia. Normally Clemson's really good, but again, Clemson no longer has Trevor Lawrence, as now he's on the Jaguars. And for the news, again, Georgia's just unstoppable now. They destroyed Clemson. Who's next? Let's look at the divisions leading the division. Well, there are still some games that are happening, but let's just check. This is taking forever to load. As in the AAC, no one is winning this conference. In the ACC, the only one winning this conference is Virginia Tech, as they're the only ones who've played a game so far. In the Big 12, nobody, because nobody's Wait a minute, that's fake news. West Virginia lost to Maryland, so that makes no sense. I guess according to ESPN, everything's got to be wrong. In the ACC, again, for that. Big 10, probably about the craziest conference ever. We won our game. Please make our game count. Oh, it's because of conference. We need to check overall. So, after week 1, Cincinnati is number 1. As overall, they've won their record of 1-0. In the ACC, number 1, I believe, is BC, which is... Congratulations for them. They're number 1 in their conference. Well, at least in the Atlantic. In the Coastal, that title goes to Virginia Tech. Big 12. In the Big 12, number 1 currently is Bayern. As they're currently in first right now, as in the Big 12. In the Big 10, Michigan State is in the East, and in the West, it is Iowa. Now, I'm surprised that Ohio State's not in first right now. My team is in 4th, which is, well, middle class. I think that's where we were last year, though. So we need to beat somebody. Maybe we'll beat MSU eventually. But our season's looking kind of tough, so who knows what could happen. The CUSA. You got CLT in first and EP in second. In the West, In the independents, which means teams that still do not have a conference and should be put in one. The Army is currently in first out of the in the no conference, because they again are not in a conference. So we might as well make them their own conference until they get a conference or get accepted into the conferences. Hopefully UConn, out of all the teams that are most likely to join the Big 10, based on the other teams that are in there, UConn would probably be the most likely one to join. as they represent Connecticut. As we have a lot of teams that represent their own state, including Nebraska, which would probably be Real's favorite college if he's into college sports. And then Mid-American, Buff is winning in the top there, and Ball is winning in the West. MWC AFA is number one in the Mountain Zone, and in the West it's, I think, Nevada. Pac-12, Oregon's number one, and UCLA is number one in South. In the SC, Florida State's winning right now, and in the West, Alabama is winning. I feel bad for every team that is not ranked that's in this conference because of Alabama themselves. And then finally, the Sun Belt Conference. We got the APP in first in the East and ARST in the West. Yeah, this team's abbreviation, South Alabama, USA. Which I would change it to SAU. I'm not sure if they picked that because there's already a team that uses that. But hey, I know we're a little bit late, but we're going to go now. That will take place on my website, so just give me a second once I get there. As Access Sports is not on ESPN, it's on my website that I made a couple weeks ago. I have another website. I have two now. So yeah, Access Football Hub. Home to the sports of the UAFL, XAFL, and the RAFL and the monthly cups, which we'll talk about that now. Now, the UAFL Stage 1 standings aren't incomplete because we have not started the season yet, as it starts in January. But here is the Week 1 schedule for if we only go with 36 teams. Now, there are plans for the UAFL to expand to 64 teams, that I am planning on doing that. Did I pick the winning peg? Yes, I did. But again, we'll go over everything about the Sapphire Cup first. Now, here's the bracket. This is obviously outdated by a little bit. I'm not going to update it until the first round concludes. But if you want to see the real-time bracket, go to my challenge.com thing, which I could link in chat later. If you guys are interested, just tell me and I'll link it in the chat. So yeah, first game, Atlanta Razorbacks versus the Detroit Firebirds. Atlanta won that. So, therefore, it will be San Francisco Sharks at the Atlanta Razorbacks in round 1. Philadelphia Express this was the biggest game, but Philadelphia upset Pittsburgh, as Pittsburgh normally destroys Philadelphia, as Philadelphia is number 32 in position-wise in the XAFL. And now they're going to play. Philadelphia will play the Arizona Heat next. Kansas City Wranglers, Las Vegas Outlaws. That game ended with Kansas City moving on, and they will now play the Buffalo Bullets. Well, actually, the Buffalo Grizzlies, as the head of the group decided to change the name, which would be Access, which would be because there is a group of us who own multiple, which there are a lot of us who own leagues. We decided we were all going to change it to the Grizzlies. I can't change the name of a team while the tournament is underway on challenge.com, so I can't change the team name on the website, but I can put the title as the Grizzlies. And then game number 4, the Chicago Blackhawks have upset the Oklahoma City Cyclones as they're already out as well. Now, there are a couple of games that have just happened this morning that are not yet on this. That's why I said it's rendered. First one is the Tennessee Bloodhounds versus Nebraska Thunder. The Tennessee Bloodhounds has upset the Nebraska Thunder, and the Tennessee Bloodhounds will move to round 2 and will play their game on September 17th in the second round whenever we begin that. That will be towards the middle of the month, I believe, as that happens in week 3 of the month. As for the Louisiana Gators and the Winnipeg Devil Cats, the Winnipeg Devil Cats has ended the away team winning streak, as they are the first team who has played home games in this entire cup to win, as they're the only team that has won as the home team. But in the next game, they will be the away team as they play on September 15th. Now, tomorrow, we have 2 games. Boston Whalers at the Dallas Lawmen, and the Montreal Terrapins at the New York Barons. Both games are looking forward to, and yeah. Now for the entire list of the champions that you have missed. The 2021 Peridot Cup ended with the Green Bay Axemen winning the cup. So, yeah. Now it's the Sapphire Cup, so it's a little different. Now, for the Realistic Access Football League, we have 2 seasons were simulated really quickly, as the Oklahoma City Cyclones are the Season 1 champions, and the Season 2 champions are the New York Barons of the Realistic Access Football League. Now, this league is supposed to mimic the NFL, but I guess the owner couldn't wait, so we have 2 winners for some reason. And for the XAFL, towards the beginning of the year.
Hello.
Hello?
What up? There you go. Your name's on it, buddy.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. How are you?
I'm great.
All right. You remember. Hi, honey. Welcome. Do I know you?
Of course you do.
Long time.
Yeah.
Did you have fun at your dad's?
Mhm.
That's good. Hi, no, just stay down. I'll say hi to you. But you know, I always push you down. Yes, but I say hi to you. You're a good boy when you're asleep, just like mine. Yes. Ah, did we get you up?
Lovely.
Are we mixing and matching today? That's a little weird, dear.
Well, she probably pulled up.
You didn't look when you put them on, did you? How are you? You gonna be ready to go back to school? You know, it's just around the corner, girl.
I'm ready to go back.
And they won't deliver on Sunday. If you have more packages coming, we'll get them next week.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
You gonna come out and say hi to you, Pop?
Yeah. I'll go get my flip-flops on. Pause this. I'll have to go back upstairs since
Scare 'em off.
Something's beeping in here.
It's a bomb.
Hope it's not.
Nah, it's just stupid zero alarm.
All right, we're gonna end the stream here. Here are the rest of the teams that we were talking